That's a thumbs up. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Our meeting is live streamed and you can join us online by going to our website. Other viewing options are available at tctvonline.com. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining us via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. I want to welcome everyone in the room. If you haven't, please sign the guest list, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's quickly number season. But then the last, so try to spread the joy. All right, anybody sign up for public comment? Nobody signed up for public comment, and no non-agenda items, so we can move right along for our legislative and administrative agenda. Agenda item 5 is consideration of United States Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement number 26YFJFA021 with the United States Department of Interior for Water Resource Investigations. Randy Thorpe, Director of Emergency Management. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good rainy Wednesday.
It is raining.
Yes, it's
Raining a lot.
great. What we have is our annual agreement that we do with the United States Department of Interior, the USGS, United States Geological Society, for the maintenance and care of our 5 river gauges that we have within our county. It's an agreement we've had with them for a long time, from what I understand. Our share is $30,600, which I did put into the budget again this year to pay this. This is for the current year that we're in, from September of last year till October of last year till September of this year. And like I say, it's to help us to maintain those 5 river gauges, which are indispensable during our winter flooding season. And they're also, those gauges are utilized by a lot of our commercial people here that are in the fishing industry. So it's a great benefit to our county, both for preparedness on my end and also to help with our economy here with our fishing industry. So I would strongly recommend that we go ahead and enter into this agreement again with USGS.
Great, fantastic. Commissioner Vellani, go ahead.
I think this is an indispensable tool. We absolutely need them, so I'm supportive.
Would agree. Also, I know your husband uses them.
He does. All of the fishermen use them. And I would suggest the other piece of this that we may not have used it for significantly in the past, but as we look at the changes in water capacity and water quantity on the North Oregon coast, I think having this data is super important for us as well. We certainly are hearing more cities talk about and water districts feeling challenged with water. I was on the phone this morning with our water master, just learning more about how that entire system functions here. And I think these are one more data point for us that lets us know how are we comparing to prior years and how might that impact not only our fishermen, but all of us who live here in our water consumption. So definitely useful.
Great, also very useful going into a drought summer.
Yes.
So, okay, thanks. Yes.
I think we would be remiss not to mention that the Tillamook Bay Flood Improvement District contributes to the cost of
yes.
this and generously. They partner with us and contribute to this.
Yes, thank you for reminding us of that.
Yeah, great. Thank you for mentioning that. Ready for a motion?
All right. Mr. Chair, in consideration of United States Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement number 26YFJFA021 with the United States Department of the Interior for Water Resource Investigations, I move approval.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 6, consideration of a contract for goods with Tillamook Motor Company Incorporated for the Department of Community Development 2026 Ford Ranger truck vehicle purchase. Chris Corliss, Assistant Building Official, Department of Community Development. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioner. How are you doing?
Well, excellent.
Well, thank you for having me today. We'd just like to request that we be able to purchase a new vehicle for the Community Development Department. We budgeted $60,000 for two vehicles for the 2025-26 year. However, after looking at our needs and our current fleet, we decided just to purchase one vehicle this year for a total of $33,950 for a 2026 Ford Ranger. We previously went with some of the more fuel economy Ford Escape hybrids when they were, at a lot of rebates on them. This year, the model's been discontinued, and we were looking at a small pickup for some of the more remote areas that our electrical inspector does go to, some of these fields and that kind of stuff, where we've seen some of these vehicles have difficult time meeting out there. So we're hoping for the 27-28 budget year, we'll purchase another vehicle, and then we may looking at getting another hybrid at that point. Is there any questions you may have about?
I think that's great. I happened to be by the Ford dealer and they said they were excited for you guys to be picking it up soon. So I know it's there waiting. Funny story, you're just another one of our departments that's lucky enough to get really worn out pickup trucks from the sheriff's office in the past. I have two of my vehicles when I went to you. One had a mouse living in it and you guys used it for a couple more years. So that was interesting. Anyway, any questions?
No questions. I think that it's absolutely crucial. And, we talk often about travel and is travel crucial at the county? And I think there's a great opportunity to remind people that travel and community development is not, travel like people think, right? This is actually inspectors going out to sites to make sure that buildings are being built properly and getting people through the process. So it's crucial, and it's crucial that they have a vehicle they can rely on. So that when they get in the morning and jump in that vehicle, it turns on and goes where they need it to go. So it's time.
Good point.
I agree. And I appreciate you looking carefully at the budget and determining that you didn't really need the two vehicles this year, and you're willing to put another one off until next year. So thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a contract for goods with Tillamook Motor Company, Inc. for the Department of Community Development 2026 Ford Ranger truck vehicle purchase, I move approval.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thank you very much.
Right. And hiding in the back, come on down. A consideration of loading facility grant intergovernmental agreement number 256-15 with the Oregon State Marine Board for the Netarts Landing Project Landing Services. Dan Kais, Director of Parks Department. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning. Glad to be here. Thank you again for your time. So this is really a part of a larger plan to improve the Netarts Boat Basin area. And it all derives from a rainy, cold day back in December a couple of years ago when we met with the Marine Board grant administrator and one of their engineers. And so this is the second step. We're moving forward with the first, which is the repaving project very soon. And what's happened is that we've written a grant to the Marine Board for consultant design services and permitting to replace the boat dock existing, as well as to stabilize the shoreline that's on the north side of that dock. It's in terrible shape. Many of you know that I've gone out there. There's rocks that have fallen under the boat ramp. It's making conditions very tenuous. So anyway, we were successful in this grant application process. It's called a small grant through their program, and they would like to give us $16,250. Our share would be $8,750. And I know now that we've moved forward already with getting proposals to actually conduct this work, and they would like to charge us, the consultant company would like to charge us $26,660. So we're really close to having all this being right on what we thought it was going to be as far as costs are concerned. So what's happened is that, again, it's with the completion planning and permitting, replace the dock and address the shoreline. And what happened is that the reimbursement we would have until June 30th of 2027 to get this work done. And I promise you right now, we'll have the work done way before that. My concern at this point, and maybe I don't have to worry about it right now, but is what are the costs going to be when we get those design services back and we actually have to move forward to do the work. But we're not there yet. We'll find out. We'll take it one step at a time, but we're trying hard. We want to make this work. We want to improve the area. And I think there's a lot of support in that community to do so as well. So with that being said, I hope that you consider this and move forward with approval. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Bell.
Thank you. Well, congratulations on the successful grant, and it's imperative that we move forward with this work. I totally agree with you. It's a beloved and well-used facility, and we need the docks to be operable. And so go forward.
Great,
Go
thank
forward and do good work.
Completely agree. I always love when we get grants to do the work that really needs to be done. So good work.
Thank you.
And I just want to say I appreciate your work on this and going after that grant. I was out there this morning, literally, and that corner of the parking lot where the erosion is actually dropped into the bay.
Right.
So like you said, this is much needed and much appreciated, and I want to thank you for that.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a boating facility grant intergovernmental agreement number 2526-15 with the Oregon State Marine Board for the Netarts Landing Park Project Services, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for support once again, and I hope everyone has a nice day.
Well, stay dry.
Yeah, stay dry. Good
Were
luck.
you crabbing before the work today?
No, but I had to watch Django. And it was raining and windy.
Fun morning to be out there. I was watching like, oh,
He doesn't
no.
care. Agenda item 8, consideration of a prevailing wage contract for construction with Bayview Asphalt Incorporated for the Twin Rocks paving project. Chris Leahy, Director of Public Works. Oh, he's not on there. Brian is on there. Hello, Brian. Chris is at a conference.
Yep, Brian Oley, Public Works. I'll present on behalf of Chris today.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so in front of you, we've got a prevailing wage contract for construction with Bayview Asphalt Incorporated. This contract is in the amount of $251,148. This will pave 5 roads in need of repair in the Twin Rocks community. This project was advertised through a call for bid and awarded to the lowest responsive bidder, Bayview. The proposed time of completion for this project and paving would be June 20th of 2026. And with that said, yeah, we'd recommend approval of this contract with Bayview Asphalt.
Great. Commissioner Bell.
I've heard from people in Twin Rocks about this. They are thrilled that this is going to happen, and I'm grateful. So thank you for your work.
Agreed.
That's it? Just agreed?
Just agreed.
Okay.
I think Commissioner Bell covered it.
I think so.
You might as well.
Well, no, and I think I want to thank Chris. Chris has spoke about this in one of the other ones that we were funding some of this. And that road does serve a bunch of people. So it's a much needed repair. So thanks again, Brian.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Bayview Asphalt Inc. for the Twin Rocks paving project, I move approval.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Brian.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, we have Dawn online. Yep, okay. Agenda item 9 is consideration of an order in the matter of notice of intent to award a contract for goods for the library bookmobile project. Don Algier, Library Director. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am happy to be here before you today with the notice of intent to award the contract for goods and services around the bookmobile. As you know, for a couple of years, we've been planning and thinking about what it would mean to replace the bookmobile that is over 15 years old now. We've had in the last couple of years growing amounts of time where the bookmobile is not able to be on the road because, you know, as it ages, it needs more maintenance and runs into more issues, not unlike myself. And so we are, you know, it's a key part of our outreach services. It's a lifeline for kids that can't make it into the library, providing them with materials. It's a support for schools and daycares throughout the county and an extension of the library services into our geographically very large county. So we've been developing a plan with the outreach staff for what the needs are going to be over the next 10 plus years, and how we can have a bookmobile that will support those needs. I feel very confident that the specs that were developed are going to do that for this county. And so this is a notice of intent to award Tech Ops Specialty Vehicle LLC with a contract for $386,000, $386,849.95. Barely got that out there. And just I guess the thing I would note is there aren't a huge number of companies that make these vehicles throughout the country. This is one of the three major companies that are out there. And we utilized feedback from someone who is knowledgeable of all of those companies and the specs to make sure that what we put out there is going to be really effective and cost effective for the county in preserving those services over a longer period of time. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, great. Commissioner?
Well, Dawn, thank you. This is exciting. The bookmobile, of course, is a mobile library and a lifeline for folks who have mobility issues. And for our long 77-mile long county, there are people who just aren't able to regularly go to libraries, including small children. So I'm really grateful for the service and glad we can do it. I hear regularly from people who use it and are happy about it. So I'm fully supportive. And I was wondering while you were talking, will the fancy new bookmobile be done in time for the fair so the community at large can see it? No.
I don't think so. I think it probably will be in the fall is my understanding, but you never know, but I would not predict that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Soar?
I'm in support. As Commissioner Bell said, this is a library. I think that's one of the things that strikes us is that it is really a library unto itself that moves around our community. And given the amount of areas we have that are unincorporated and don't have easy access to a library, the bookmobile is absolutely crucial. So I'm excited to have a new one coming on board and can't wait to see it.
Great. And what's going to happen to the old one?
That's a great question. A question I get quite a bit. I think we will no longer need it at that point. I think there are a lot of, I think there are a lot of folks out there who have interest in that. So I would assume that we would sell it. But I have not thought through the process of that at this point. I mean, I'm going to go through our legal processes for how we do that. But I think there's always a lot of interest with those types of vehicles for the people who, can put the time and effort into doing great things with them. So, yeah, I'm sure that it will attract some interest.
Great. All right. Well, thank you. I think we're ready for a motion.
And I would think it would. I would think a county with fewer miles to travel might really benefit from an older bookmobile.
I just said, I was wondering if he's going to turn it into an RV.
Right.
Some people definitely retrofit these vehicles
could be
into
true.
lifestyle.
All right, Mr. Chair, consideration of order number 26-024 in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for goods for the library bookmobile project. I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item 10, consideration of a prevailing wage contract for construction with Convergent LLC for the courthouse interior door and card reader installation project. Kevin Jolly, our facilities supervisor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. What you have before you for your consideration and approval is a contract between the county and Convergent Services to expand our key card access points to 7 additional doors in the courthouse. 4 for the assessors, 2 for IS, and 1 in the clerk's office. And that total would be, for all of that work, is $60,075.43. The reason why that is kind of a large number for 7 doors, there's a lot of work to get wires and conduit through the walls, through the ceilings, and through the access points to and from the server room, like I was saying. And these walls are 6 to 8 inches thick, so it takes a considerable effort to string new wires and conduit, that sort of thing. So that's about the size of everything on that. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say it's too bad that we have to continue to add to our security here, but it's the reality that we face. So any comments, Commissioner Bell?
Thank you for the words, Kevin. I'm always amazed at the cost of commercial construction, but I realize that that's what these things cost. So, and that we have to do it. So.
Okay, thanks.
Agreed. And being in a 1932 courthouse adds to the challenges of that because it wasn't built with runs in the walls for wiring. And, as you can see from, the little tubes we have around here for our wiring, you can't embed it easily in things. So it's an additional cost to maintain a historic courthouse. So, but I'm very happy that we can provide the additional security as needed.
Great. Also, prevailing wage requirement jacks the price up as well.
Yep.
I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Convergent LLC for the courthouse interior door and card reader installation project, and move approval.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Deborah, come on down. Agenda item 11, consideration of an order in the matter of adopting the Tillamook County General Fund Reserve Policy. Deborah Jacob, Director of Financial Services and our Treasurer. Good morning.
Good morning. Before you today is the Tillamook County General Fund Reserve Policy. This was brought forth by finance recommendation developed through Tiberius Consulting, and after receiving budget committee and board member feedback, was updated to reflect the multi-level perspectives. The purpose of this is for the board establishing and maintaining periodically reviewing policies that establish financial practices and ensure the county maintains a prudent level of financial resources. These practices are intended to protect county services from disruption in the event of unexpected temporary increases in expenditures or shortfalls in revenue, enhance the county's creditworthiness, and ensure compliance with financial planning best practices as recommended by the Government Finance Officers Association. Run through it really quickly on what is included in this policy. We cover the following funds: the beginning fund balance. This is within the general fund. Total amount. This is the total amount of resources available for a given fund at the beginning of the fiscal year, prior to any new revenue or expenditures transactions. And the general fund also contingency. It's a department 01410, which funds set aside for unanticipated expenses or budget adjustments that occur during the fiscal year. Operating budget definition is for a given fund, the total amount of expenditures in the adopted budget for a fiscal year, including appropriations for personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, and transfers. Operating contingency is a GL line item within our contingency department, a non-spendable account defined in Oregon local budget law that may be accessed during the fiscal year to transfer appropriations to spendable accounts. Reserves are any non-spendable category of appropriations for any fund in the adopted budget, including contingency and unappropriated ending fund balance. Unappropriated ending fund balance, a specific non-spendable category of appropriations for any fund in the adopted budget. This appropriation cannot be reallocated to a spendable budget category until the subsequent fiscal year, except as authorized by ORS 294.481 to respond to certain emergencies and natural disasters. So those are the topics covered within it, definitions for the ideas underneath. So we address not only the general fund in this, but our supporting funds. So the general fund non-departmental department houses the beginning fund balance. The general fund contingency department houses our operating contingency and our unappropriated ending fund balance. Our revenue stabilization fund houses a operating contingency and unappropriated ending fund balance. And our building improvement fund, Fund 301, covers the unappropriated ending fund balance. So how did we determine the reserve levels included underneath here? For the general fund beginning fund balance, this is equal to the prior year unappropriated ending fund balance. One rolls into the other. So beginning fund balance is based on the prior year's unappropriated ending fund balance. This amount is adjusted to reflect any variances between budget and actual operating revenues and expenditures. Resulting balance serves as a starting point for evaluating compliance with reserve targets and determining the resources available for allocation in the new fiscal year. Also, under non-departmental is the contingency, our operating contingency line item. Our reserve target is equal to 1% of operating budget for the 26-27 budget. That is 370,000. Our unappropriated ending fund balance target equal to 16.67% of operating budget, equivalent to approximately 2 months of operating expenses. This is a minimum target, unlike the others, not a maximum. The primary purpose of this reserve is to support the county's operational cash flow during the period from July through November, when property tax revenue have not yet been received. Revenue stabilization, operating contingency, and unappropriated ending fund balance. These reserve targets for this fund are established in 2 tiers. The interim goal being $2 million. This goal represents the minimum reserve level necessary to absorb a significant single-year shortfall in both state timber revenue or planning and zoning fees. The interim minimum reserve level should always be maintained absent extraordinary circumstances. Long-term goal is 5.2 million. This covers the average goal represents the average annual combined revenue received from the county from state timber and planning and zoning fees over the prior 3 fiscal years. This will be pursued over time, and contributions toward the long-term goal may be deferred in any year in which the board determines that operational needs, one-time capital priorities, or other county priorities warrant an alternative allocation of surplus funds. This reserve is intended to provide a long-term buffer against annual volatility and revenues identified as highly susceptible to legislative, economic, or market risks, such as state timber and planning and zoning fees. The next is the building improvement fund. This covers our capital improvements and its unappropriated ending fund balance. Reserve targets for this fund are established at 2 tiers again. Interim goal is a minimum annual contribution of $250,000. So this doesn't establish a reserve amount, but a funded amount for our capital planning needs. This interim goal is intended to either fund current deferred maintenance priorities or steadily build reserves for facility maintenance and capital needs while longer-term capital maintenance plan is developed. The long-term goal is a reserve level sufficient to fund all planned capital improvements and maintenance needs identified in a county 10-year facility capital maintenance plan, including the annual cost of repairs and maintenance necessary to sustain county facilities. That covers the targets. For funding and replenishment, in the event that reserves are below the target levels established by this policy, the following steps should be considered. The county should approve a plan to replenish reserves that includes the sources of funds and anticipated timeline for replenishment. One-time resources generated by the sale of county-owned property or other assets should be allocated to replenish the building improvement fund. Unexpected surpluses for revenues identified as highly volatile and or subject to legislative or economic risks, such as state timber and planning and zoning fees, should be allocated to replenish the revenue stabilization fund. The county should target a minimum annual contribution of $250,000 per year to the building improvement fund. And other unanticipated general fund surpluses, as well as unexpected unrestricted one-time resources received by the county, should generally be directed first toward replenishment of reserves. However, the board retains full discretion to allocate surplus funds to other county priorities, including capital investments, one-time service enhancements, or the community needs as deemed appropriate through the budget process. The final section in this is an exception item. This is part of a budget strategy that will be discussed in today's budget meeting, but is included here as it applies to the contingency covered in this reserve policy. It's a vacancy budgeting. The purpose of this exception is to recognize a realistic amount of expected vacancy savings at the beginning of each fiscal year and allocate the value of those savings to the operating contingencies. The scope of this policy covers salaries and benefits of budgeted vacancies within the general fund departments. The general fund budget consistently budgets more for salaries and benefits than the county spends because some positions remain vacant during a fiscal year. Instead of waiting until the end of the fiscal year to demonstrate that personnel costs were under budget, the county recognizes personnel costs are considered part of the expected savings at the beginnings of the budget year. The policy adjusts where vacancy-related budget is allocated to the general fund, which budget better reflects expected spending and places predictable budget variance in reserve rather than appropriations. The proposed procedures on this are to determine vacancies for the annual budget. General fund positions that are vacant on June 1 of each year will be considered vacant for the approved and adopted budget. The finance department will calculate the expected vacancy savings and include the full salaries and benefits for each vacancy in contingency. Each vacancy will be represented in department budgets by a note identifying the vacancy related amount allocated to operating contingency. The note will state that the amount allocated to operating contingency remains available if needed for recruitment and hiring, as needed for recruitment and hiring. Funds allocated to operating contingency may be transferred to a department's budget by board resolution. This transfer will be initiated when the department's personnel services spending reaches 90% of its departmental personnel services budget before June 1. A board resolution will be brought forward to transfer those funds from the contingency reserve to the department's budget line item. That is the proposed general fund reserve policy.
Great. I know you're chomping. You need to say
No,
one.
I'm actually not. I'm happy. I would love to.
I'm very excited. I just want to say a couple of things and
Mhm.
turn it over to my colleagues. I'm really super excited about this for a lot of reasons. One, I feel like, and I want to thank you and the work that your team has done and everybody has done on this. I think it shows a new level of transparency for the county that this board, we're striving for. I also think it helps to illustrate to the public that we are committed to improving our financial situation and stabilizing it. And this is a really solid step in doing that. And the amount of work to go in here and get the verbiage so it says what we want it to say but also provide some safety valves if we need it for some catastrophe. In particular, the vacancy policy, this was something I think it was fantastic. I think that we found a solution that all the departments recognize as being viable. I think that's huge. I think it shows that it recognizes that we have to change how we've been budgeting for those vacancies because they've been consistently 10% for years. And I think, but we also, the big part, at least for me, I think my colleagues, was to make sure that we also recognize the importance that those positions hold within those departments and that they need them just because they can't fill them because of some forces outside of our control. I think that's important. We were able to somehow do that. I think he came up with a really good plan here for us to say, we need to do this, but we want you to continue recruiting and building the teams you need to when possible. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Commissioner Scar.
I agree.
Commissioner Bell.
I am thankful for your work on this and Rachel's for everybody's work on this and that we've been able to work through it with you and talk to you about it and make sure that everything we wanted to have reflected in the policy is. So thank you very much for your responsiveness in that. And I just want to make the point that these are, it's great. I agree with my colleague that it's great to have a policy in place. It's best practice. I agree with that. And for folks who are watching, all of these are things we've been doing. So we've been doing these things in every budgeting cycle, and in every year we talk about it, like how much to this fund, how much to that fund, et cetera. But we just haven't had the policy itself. So it's not, so from my perspective, this is codifying our values, and it will guide our conversations, and it's work that we've been doing.
Yeah, it just makes the roadmap more clear on what we're looking to do.
Fantastic. Well, okay, ready for motion then.
All right. Mr. Chair, in consideration of order number 26-023 in the matter of adopting the Tillamook County General Fund Reserve Policy, I move approval.
Second.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you,
Deborah.
Deborah.
Okay, we have one unscheduled item that will be presented by Commissioner Scar. It's consideration of a letter of support to Secretary Scott Turner, United States Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding the future of homelessness resource. Commissioner Scar.
Thank you. I appreciate the ability to take this unscheduled. It came while I was away and was flagged to me by Jessica Pratt at AOC to say, please, if you are able to get your county to agree, this will be the letter itself, and then our logo will be also on a document that goes from AOC to HUD. So the continuum of care, and I'll try to be brief because I could go on and on, of course, it is household services related funding. So continuums of care have existed for, gosh, since I think the 70s, related to how HUD provides funding for housing those who are experiencing houselessness in our communities. And over the years, HUD has continually sort of changed their priorities as to, at one point it was very focused on veterans, for example, and another period of time it was very focused on families. Most recently, it's been very focused on those who are experiencing chronic homelessness. And so they change their priorities at times. And with the current, they call it a NOFA, the Notice of Funding Available, that they brought out last year, not only did they change their priorities, but they did so without time for agencies to adjust. They said, as of the time this is awarded, which would be 90 days from the NOFO, you must change your entire program. And what they've been having everybody do is permanently house people. So it means that permanent supportive housing has been the priority for those experiencing chronic homelessness. And permanent housing means that you promise to pay their rent until such time as they're able to pay it themselves or able to get into a different housing authority related program. So if what they had done had gone into effect at 90 days, all of those individuals would have lost their housing at 90 days. So it was a very stark and very just scary moment when that NOFO came out. The NOFO was challenged in the courts and it had to be rescinded. But what they have said is that the next NOFO that comes out will likely reflect that same shift in priorities. And what this letter is representing is simply a please do it with caution, with care, with understanding, particularly in our rural communities where there are not other resources available, that if you just cut that off, those people literally will become homeless again. So it's asking HUD to please be thoughtful in their transition and process as to how they change their priority, not questioning whether or not they have the right to do that. They absolutely do, and they've done it many times over time. But this just says, please recognize in our rural communities, we need time to care for the people that are currently housed and to find solutions and alternatives for them. And so as you release the next NOFO, please allow us time to plan and transition as opposed to that very short window. So that's saying that Tillamook County would agree. We would like to support that in happening currently in our community. CARE receives a continuum of care grant. We expect that Helping Hands will be applying for one in the next cycle. So this is supportive of our agencies as well as across the state and across the nation being part of the messaging that says, please be thoughtful and work with us. So that's the request that I have for us today.
Okay, Commissioner Bill.
I am fully supportive of the request. I'm grateful to Commissioner Scar for bringing it forward. I think it's really important for folks who are receiving those, who are receiving that assistance to have, for us to do everything that we can to provide for a good transition for them if a transition is necessary. So I appreciate the work.
Thank you.
I also appreciate you coming forward. I also appreciate the local control aspect of it. For me, that's really
100%.
important. And I would say that this is posted on our website and our agenda, and people should read what we are saying, what we're not
Yeah.
saying. And I think for me, it's always about whether or not, I feel like we can have more impact and help to inform what the solutions are when we talk about a deflection program. To me, this is the same thing. By having the local control, we can really work with care and fine tune what our needs are, rather than have somebody in Washington DC telling us and ordering us what to do. So I'm in support.
Perfect. Thank you.
We need to do a motion on that, or is?
Do.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, consideration of a letter of support to Secretary Scott Turner, United States Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding the future of homelessness resources. I move approval.
Second.
Okay, a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are now at the point where we'll have to recess this board. I'll be recessing. Okay, so we're going to be recessing this board meeting. We have a timestamp, a time-sensitive public hearing that begins at 9:45 a.m. So we'll recess this meeting now at 9:40, and then we will continue. I will open back up the public hearing.